You're welcome back to the Gavel. Now, during the week, the Senate suspended the confirmation of 27 resident electoral commissioners for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for 2 weeks. The suspension followed the position put forward by several senators that the executive has refused to accept the Senate's rejection of Mr. Ibrahim Magu as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Lawmakers also accused appointees of the president of disrespecting the National Assembly.
The Senate president arriving for the first plenary session of the week. He is met by Senator Dino Melaye, who is clad in an academic gown in what appears to be a statement to affirm his graduation from the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. The Senate then proceeds into a closed session. When the session is thrown open, almost 2 hours later, the Senate President outlines what was discussed.
Various attacks on the National Assembly, especially the Senate, for performing its constitutional duties, and the Senate resolved to defend the integrity of the Senate against such attacks and will not be intimidated from carrying out our constitutional duties at all times.
It's a stance that becomes clear when the motion seeking the confirmation of 27 resident electoral commissioners for the Independent National Electoral Commission is put forward. It met a stonewall.
The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Anti-Corruption, Professor Ise Sagi, went to the press and said that the Senate merely confirms. Merely is the word. Since our confirmation is merely, let us suspend it. Until we now know whether we have the power as given to us by the Constitution to look into confirmation matter or any other status.
If we disqualify Magu and he's terrorizing our people because we disqualify him and he's still active, and they are bringing new confirmation for us to confirm, what are we doing?
A lawmaker made an appeal for the confirmation to be allowed to proceed.
The preparation for the conduct of 2019 election is the submission of resident electoral commissioners to the Senate for screening and approval. Without that, INEC will never be ready for the 2019 election.
His appeal did not sway the senators, and the Deputy Senate President put forward this position.
I just want to appeal that we apply some moderation to allow Mr. President to convey our feelings to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on this issue.
Those in favor that we just send down this item for 2 weeks, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The battle line between the Senate and the presidency was further drawn when the Senate Deputy Majority Leader raised a point of order the following day, drawing the attention of lawmakers to utterances purportedly made by the Chairman Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption, Professor Ise Sagi, in a newspaper publication.
Page 8 of the paper, titled Sagi, others kick as Senate puts up rec confirmation over Magu. The specific provision I'm complaining of, Mr. Chairman and my distinguished colleagues, in a telephone interview, that the Senate was filled with people of questionable character who put their personal interests ahead of that of the nation. If somebody in the standing of Professor Sege will make this comment, it means this Senate is under obligation to invite distinguished senators, Ise Sagi, to come and name the questionable people that fill this Senate. It's very important at this stage of our political development.
The Senate President referred the matter to the Committee on Ethics to investigate and report back to the Senate. But the President appears to be uncomfortable with acrimony between the Executive and the Senate. At a meeting of the Federal Executive Council during the week, the President set up a cabinet committee that will profile a solution to the crisis. Whether the committee succeed in mending the rift between the two arms of government will be made clear in the coming days. However, some Nigerians have expressed dissatisfaction over the acrimony between the Senate and the Executive, as they say the nation is facing economic challenges and both arms of government need to work together to get the country out of its economic woes.
Some interesting motions were raised in the Senate and the House of Representatives during the week.
The Senate has concluded its own part of amending the Electoral Act 2010. In the amendment, the Senate approved the use of electronic voting in future elections and also approved that election results should be electronically transmitted in an encrypted and secured manner to collation centers to prevent hacking. The bill also gives political parties power to adopt direct or indirect primaries in choosing their flag bearers, while qualification or disqualification of candidates for elections will be solely based on the Constitution. Senator Abubakar Kyari says the bill also addresses the lacuna observed in the last Kogi State gubernatorial election, where a candidate died before results of elections were declared.
In the event of a death of a candidate during election before the announcement of a result, that the commission, INEC that is, shall suspend election for a period of 21 days and give the opportunity to the party whose candidate had died, if the party has interest, that is, to continue with the election. The case in Kogi is probably candidate that is leading. It could be a possibility that the candidate may be somebody who in a party that is not leading. If the party still thinks that they want to continue with that election, then they will be given 14 days to conduct a primary election and produce a candidate.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in the House of Representatives have directed a committee to investigate the Independent National Electoral Commission's non-compliance with the provision of the Electoral Act on continuous voters registration. The lawmakers considered a motion on the matter and believe the Commission has failed to put in place measures to guarantee continuous voters registration exercise across the country.
Despite repeated demand and appeal by Nigerians, INEC has failed to put in place measures to guarantee continuous voters registration exercise across the country. Convinced that the problem of the breach of Electoral Act on continuous voters registration will persist unless INEC adopt a full implementation of the continuous voters registration as provided by the Electoral Act 2010.
The committee is to look into the matter and report back in 4 weeks.
The National Assembly has urged the Ministry of Defense to stop all further actions on what it described as the commercialization of the Nigerian Navy for the purpose of crude oil and liquefied natural gas diversion to global destinations. This resolution follows the consideration of a motion which alleges that a private company is proposing to partner with the Nigerian Navy to provide security services for international oil companies and operators of offshore assets. The House has directed a joint committee on Navy and Defense to investigate the arrangement between the Ministry of Defense, the Nigerian Navy, and the company and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action.
Let this House also know that Surefire Consortium, in order to recoup its investment, will become a commercial partner to the Nigerian Navy in commercializing the Maritime Service Department of the Navy, which would then be expected to provide security services at a cost to international oil companies and other owners of operators of offshore assets.
The lawmakers in the House of Representatives are also mandating the Ministry of Niger Delta and the Niger Delta Development Commission to commence work on some roads in Rivers State. This followed 2 motions by Rep. Jerome Eke, who drew the attention of the House to the deplorable state of the road and the need for government to rehabilitate the roads.
Due to the deplorable state of the road, the 2 sister states have almost been cut off, as it is the only route from Echie in Rivers State to access Owaza, Okwa West in Abia State.
In another development, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, Senator Njuma Goje, says there will not be need for an extension for the 2016 budget, as the budget will be operational till the 5th of May 2017. And the chairman of the Senate Committee on Customs, Excise and Tariff, Senator Hope Uzodimma, has denied having any link with the 30 containers of rice seized by the Nigerian Customs Service. The senator, speaking in Abuja, said the committee had written to the Customs Service in relation to a petition it received and that the Customs Service look into the petition.
And this is where we draw the curtains on this week's edition of the Gavel. If you have any views on any of the issues discussed, please email us on thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for staying with us and see you again next week.